Across some western coasts, although the rain in the east will tend to ease away. It's a grey day for many places, highs of 5 to 8 Celsius. Now into Friday night, this area of rain will push southeastwards across Scotland, fizzling out and turning more showery as it moves into Northern Ireland and reaches Northern England later on. That's going to clear south, and through the weekend, a change to more changeable weather, wettest in the north but milder everywhere.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good evening, I'm Johnny Ratner. In West Yorkshire, the M1 is partly blocked in 2 places near Leeds, both of which caused by accidents. First of all, southbound at junction 45 and northbound at junction 44. And further south on the M1 through Bedfordshire, the inside lanes closed northbound from junction 11A to 12 north of Dunstable, where a lorry's broken down. The Essex stretch of the M25 remains closed anti-clockwise from junction 29 to 28 from the A127 round to the A12 for accident investigation work with long queues back through the Dartford tunnels back into Kent. The M4 is closed London bound right on the Wiltshire-Berkshire border, 15 to 14 heading away from Swindon towards Hungerford, where a lorry left a large spillage of hydraulic fluid all over the motorway this morning. And the M5 in Devon is blocked southbound junction 28 to 29 towards Exeter. A car has overturned in the roadworks, causing long delays. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Imagine getting the call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Oh my God.
That's a big surprise.
Oh my God. This is amazing.
Oh, in shock. That is absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Hello there, it's 6 o'clock. I'm Michelle Dewberry, and this is Dewbs & Co. Coming up tonight, new housing plans announced today. So let's look at them and ask the crucial question: do you think that these plans will fix the country's housing woes or not? And Reform UK have been campaigning hard for data to be released showing levels of crime connected to illegal migrants. The Home Office now have responded. The answer is no. What is your reaction to that? And we know by now that the court system is in a bit of a mess. Well, now there's a proposal that jury trials could be scrapped for stacks of cases to help fix that backlog. Is that the right move, do you think, or not? And a poll out today says a majority of people would prefer socialism to capitalism. Are you one of those people? And if so, do tell me why. I've got all of that and a few extra bits as well coming up. But first, let's get stuck into the 6 o'clock news headlines.
Thank you, Michelle. Your top news story at 6 o'clock. Breaking news in the last hour. A body has been found in the search for missing England rugby player Tom Voice, missing for 5 days. It's feared the 43-year-old was swept away while trying to cross a flooded river on Saturday night during Storm Dara. It's believed Mr Voice had entered the river at Alnwick after attempting to cross Aberwick Ford in his car. Northumbria's Police Marine Unit discovered a body earlier today. Chief Superintendent Helena Barons said the development was extremely sad. In other news, the number of hospital beds in England occupied by patients with flu has increased by 70% in a week, according to NHS England, as it warns of a tidal wave of flu hitting hospitals. NHS leaders are warning hospitals are bracing for a so-called quademic of disease over the winter months, with an increase in cases of flu and expected increases in COVID-19. The government is today demanding immediate mandatory housing targets from councils as part of its plan to build 1.5 million houses by the next general election. Sir Keir Starmer is vowing to override blockers and put builders first as he prepares to unveil sweeping changes to the planning process. The new plans could mean increased developments on the Green Belt, though the government has pledged to prioritise brownfield sites. Although the plans have been met with criticism, Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner says it is a landmark overhaul. Time magazine has named President-elect Donald Trump as its Person of the Year. It's the second time he's been awarded this title. Accepting the honour in America, he claims next year will be even bigger.
I think we're going to have a tremendous run. We have to straighten out some problems, some big problems in the world. When we left, we didn't have any of these problems. We didn't have Russia with Ukraine. We didn't have Israel October 7th. We didn't have the Afghanistan disaster. We didn't have inflation. We had no inflation. And we had a very strong economy. And we're going to do that again, but I think we're going to even up it because now we have experience.
A man who tried to set fire to a hotel housing asylum seekers has been jailed for 9 years, the joint longest prison sentence in connection with the UK's summer of riots. Levi Fishlock smashed windows and stoked a flaming bin at the Holiday Inn Express in Rotherham during a spate of disorder on the 4th of August. The 31-year-old initially denied violent disorder and arson with intent to endanger life, but later pleaded guilty to the charges. Fishlock's sentence includes a 5-year licence period after he's released from jail. Here's Judge Jeremy Richardson, KC.
You were at the forefront of it all, playing your part to the full. The venom of racism and racially motivated violence suffused the events from first to last.
And your final story for now. Drivers planning Christmas getaways are being warned to expect long queues because of record traffic levels. The AA predicts that Friday, December the 20th, remember that date, will be the busiest day on the roads during the festive period, with an estimated 23.7 million drivers planning a trip. That's more than the busiest Christmas getaway day of any year since the AA began recording data in 2010. The joint second worst days for traffic jams over the 2024 festive period are expected to be December 21st and Monday, December 23rd, with at least 22 million drivers on the road on both of those days. Amber traffic warnings have been issued by the AA for all 3 days. Makes you look forward to Christmas. Those are your latest stories. I'll be back in about an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thank you very much for that. My name's Michelle Dewberry and I'm keeping you company until 7 o'clock tonight. Alongside me, I've got my panel, Ben Habib, the former co-deputy leader of Reform UK, and Matthew Stadland, the political commentator. Good evening, gents, to both of you. You're very welcome tonight. Very disappointed, though, gentlemen, because today is Christmas jumper day. Neither of you.
On the way in, I saw people wearing their Christmas jumpers in great numbers, and I was thinking, why are they wearing their Christmas jumpers? And now, thanks to coming on your show, I have been educated in the matter.
I didn't know. Is there an official Christmas jumper day?
Yes, there is. And at GB News, we've had an unofficial staff competition to see who had the best Christmas jumper. I had mine on. I wasn't allowed to wear it for the show, just in case, you know, there was any serious issues of the day that happened whilst I'm on air and I'm sitting there in Christmas stuff. It wouldn't have been a good look, but I think that I was definitely the winner. So I'm going to show you my Christmas jumper today. You can tell me whether or not you think I'm worthy of a prize, hopefully a very high value one. And I hope you've got your Christmas jumper on wherever you're watching us tonight. You're very welcome to join the conversation. You can send me pictures of your Christmas jumper if you want. I don't mind. Get in touch all the usual ways. Email gbviews@gbnews.com. Go to the website gbnews.com/yoursay, or of course you can tweet or X me, but wherever you are, you're very welcome tonight. And I do hope that you are keeping warm, whether in Christmas jumpers or otherwise. But look, so much we need to discuss tonight, ladies and gents. So should we kick off with these new housing plans? Councils apparently are going to be told that they will need to meet the housing needs of 370,000 new homes a year, should I say. This is all part of Labour's plans, isn't it, to get Britain building again. Keir Starmer, he's been speaking out about this today. Take a listen.
For years, we've had not enough houses being built. That means that individuals and families don't have the security that they want. We're determined to break through that, to do what's necessary. Of course, we want to get the balance right with nature and the environment. But, you know, if it comes to a human being wanting to have a house for them and their family, that has to be the top priority.
Shadow levelling up, Kevin Hollerich, he's also had a few things to say. Take a listen to him.
What I'm concerned about with these rules is that they're really going to drive a coach and horses, a bulldozer if you like, through local concerns about where they're going to be built and how they're going to be built. You know, 1.5 million homes, but lots of those homes are going to be built in Greenbelt, in rural areas. Targets in London will be reduced. Targets in most of the big rural areas across the country will be doubled. So it's really where they're going to be built is the concern. And the thing is, people's concerns are going to be completely swept aside by Angela Rayner in this headlong rush to build more homes when we've already got lots of planning consents around the country.
There you go. I can tell you now, Zay Youssef, the chair of Reform UK, he had a few things to say as well. He tweeted the following in response to Keir Starmer's plans. He said, and by your own forecasts, you will import 2.5 million net new people in that same period. He went on to say, there are 14-year-old school children with a better understanding of supply and demand than anyone in your government. Ouch. Ooh. Right, start wherever you will on this. You are a property man, Ben Habib. What's your take on these new plans? Are they sufficient or not?
Yeah, so I actually read the National Planning Policy Framework this morning because I am a property man, and so I thought I'd better understand what the hell's going on.
And do you, now that you've read it? Are you any wiser?
So it is remarkable because as was said, 370,000 new homes per annum, and local authorities who don't propose where those homes are going to be built will be directed in how they're going to build them. But what the NPPF goes on to say is that all the conditions, the regulatory environment around granting planning consent, such as, for example, in the preservation of trees, sustainable development, drive towards net zero, all those other regulations which make development so difficult will remain in place. And the challenge to build quickly, and particularly if you want to do it in an environmentally friendly way, so that you're building on what we call brownfield sites, is circumnavigating the regulations surrounding the actual planning permission. And I mean, for example, my company owns a 6-acre site in Surrey, which is a brownfield site and should be developed for resi. It's ideal for resi. We can't develop it without being able to identify suitable alternative natural green space, something called SANG, which is an EU bit of legislation. So we can't find a suitable SANG area for those people who would occupy our new housing, which prohibits us, therefore, from being able to build on this brownfield site. And as a result of our inability to build on the brownfield, some greenfield is going to be developed instead. So there will be a gash bit of brownfield. And
is this what they're calling grey belt?
No, I'm talking about an existing tarmacked up property,
right? Because grey belt has come under a lot of focus as well today, hasn't it?
But we can't develop this because of the pursuit of sustainable development, and because we can't develop it, they will go to the green belt or the grey belt.
Some people say, well, why don't you build sustainably then?
Well, we can't under the regulations. So it's all very well setting a target, saying you've got to build 370,000 homes a year, but if the regulations surrounding that target prohibit the development of such homes, which a lot of these regulations will, it's a devil's own job. And Angela Rayner, the only way she's going to be able to trump local authorities is by calling in planning applications and saying, right, the Home Secretary will determine this if you don't. But she won't be able to cope with the number of planning applications being made across the country. And so I think the proof of the pudding is going to be in the eating, and, you know, whether or not they can actually deliver.
So you're a property man, and I'll summarise what you just said there. You're not sounding optimistic by what you've read in detail this morning. Yeah. Matthew Stadler, are you more optimistic?
There are so many different ways at looking at this. Should we deal with the political first, very briefly?
Deal with whatever you want first.
The political issue is that Labour have made this an absolutely central pledge, a central plank of what they intend to do over the course of the next 5 years. Yeah. And if they fail, or fail in a sufficiently obvious way, if they fall significantly short of their 1.5 million target, we all know that they failed, and they will stand a very good chance of being held to account for that at the ballot box, because that's how democracy works. Do you remember Rishi Sunak's plans? He had his 5 plans, didn't he, or his 5 targets, his 5 pledges at the beginning of last year. I lose count now. And he was going to stop the boats, that sort of thing.
I don't know you dare. You lot have had 5 plans, 6 missions, I've lost track already on that one. But
we held him to account, didn't we? And Labour will rightly be held to account. And I think they know the heat is on them, because it is such a loud and visible priority, and it is so easy to work out whether or not they failed on it. So that's the politics. Now, what might actually happen? I think Labour have got into power and realised that it's much harder being in power than perhaps they anticipated. And councils are already kicking up, and they're saying, hang on, this is almost impossible, if not impossible, to achieve. And that is the first major obstacle to their potential success, and they're going to have to overcome that. Now, will mistakes be made in the desperate, headlong rush to get this done? Quite possibly, but we have, I think, as a society, come to see ourselves as in desperate need of getting, building, and stopping the blockers.
But can I just give you an example of why this policy is difficult? If you're required to build sustainably, and you can't therefore bring back into use, for example, derelict buildings in town centres, because you can't get them to the net zero standards that we're required to get to by 2027 energy performance certificate rating of C, and then 2030, which is 1B. If you can't redevelop and repurpose existing buildings, what you then, your knee-jerk reaction to that is go and build on a green field, which of course is much, much more damaging for the environment, much more damaging in a number of ways, not just with carbon emissions.
Why is it so difficult to repurpose existing buildings to make sure that they are
because they can't meet the net zero requirements.
Why is that difficult? Why is that challenging?
Because of the costs associated with it. It's much easier to go to a green field and just plonk down a building which is a cookie cutter building.
The green field is another really important part of this, I think, Michelle. And I think a lot of people watching, like me, will be very concerned about our beautiful British countryside. I holiday in this country a lot because I think it's one of the most beautiful, if not the most beautiful countries in the world. And I don't want to see pristine, prime greenbelt land built on. But that is not. Yes, but that is not the plan. Hang on, let me just quickly.
Yeah, but if you're not a homeowner, you might be thinking, well, that pristine countryside is fabulous, but I don't want to end up living in it.
I totally understand that argument. But what I was going to try to do, I hope, is to allay some of those fears, because I really don't think it is Labour's intention to build on what we would all really consider to be greenbelt land. It is grey belt land. It's perhaps officially green belt, but really it's a bit murky.
It will be murky when they're done with it.
Let me bring you guys in. Herm Martin says, Michelle, who on earth is going to be able to afford these new homes? We've got such low salaries and we've got high costs of living in this country. Simon, he says, I'm really concerned about all of this because essentially development companies want to make a profit. They don't really seem that interested in social housing. Lots of people as well getting in touch, basically saying, who is going to be able to afford these? Nick says, Michelle, where is this pipeline of bricklayers, plumbers, electricians, roofers, etc. going to come from to build these houses? He says there are not enough of those people. Well, there you go. Keep your thoughts coming in. Look, lots we need to discuss after the break. Reform UK, they've been calling for data to be made available, showing the amount of crime associated with illegal migrants. Home Office having none of it. Right decision or not? See you in 2.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Donna Ida, who joins us now. And Donna, you look spectacular in your gorgeous denim jumpsuit.
Thank you.
And accessories. And it's important, isn't it, sometimes, just to keep things simple?
I always keep things simple. I travel a lot, I work long hours, and I don't want to think too much about what I'm wearing. So for me, one and done is perfect. Good accessories, fresh hair, nice makeup, and you can go anywhere, including GB News when you didn't know what was happening.
There we go.
Perfect.
Welcome.
Straight off the plane.
Can we ask you some of our top denim questions?
Yes.
Because Stephen Dixon, the presenter of The Breakfast Show who's just on, said that double denim to him is an absolute no-go.
Oh, what does
Is that true?
Don't have him on again, darling.
OK. We're telling me
I love double denim.
Really?
I love it. I think it is so cool.
Does it have to be a different
I was going to say double denim, same colour.
Or same
I
tones?
like the... For me, I actually do like the same. Think Saint Laurent 70s. There's an amazing one that we're doing that's going to look great on you in the new season. The Joan Jean, we've got the City Slicker shirt. Oh, it's amazing. If it's done well, it's perfect. And I like it in a paler blue, but a good mid to dark. Very chic.
Yeah, you go.
No, well, I was just thinking, little old me, not quite sure
You look amazing,
what to wear this morning. How do
was a bit
guys
stressed.
pull off denim?
For me, if I was dressing you, I would have put you in a pair of jeans this morning with his amazing jumper. Gorgeous watch.
Black, blue?
Black denim I do like. Men don't like it so much. Men like charcoal denim.
Oh, I don't like grey.
Charcoal. I love grey, and the best seller for men is charcoal denim.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
Will, please bring us up to date.
or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons,
Very, very curious.
we bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
I'm Simon Evans, and this is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, keeping you company till 7 o'clock tonight. Matthew Stadlen and Ben Habib remain alongside me. Coming up very shortly, I want to ask you about these figures. Reform UK campaigning to get the Home Office to release data which will show crime linked to illegal migrants. This one has really got you talking, and I want to explore it in detail. So I'll just hold fire on that, because Nick, one of my viewers, got in touch just before the break talking about these housing plans, saying, but Michelle, where are all these skilled tradesmen essentially going to come from? That comment, Nick, has really kind of sparked a reaction from so many viewers at home. Les, you're a retired firefighter, you say. Thank you for your service. You say, my son is a roofer. Before Brexit, he only used to have, he used to do 3 months' work per year, but since Brexit, he's not stopped. He's got 5 buildings on the go now. We have the builders, says Les, but everybody is so very, very busy. One of my other viewers says, Michelle, what do we do about the infrastructure? It's all great, isn't it, putting houses here, there and everywhere, but what about the doctor's surgery, the roads and all the rest of it? Who and how do all those things get built? This point about the workforce, Ben Habib, that Nick raises, the viewer, do you think we've got enough skills, enough people ready to go to do these buildings?
Well, my own experience is that building costs have gone up and up and up because we don't have the skills. And I think one of the mistakes we've made as a country, which Tony Blair kicked off, was this drive for everyone to go to university. And we turned our backs on, I know we do have apprenticeship programs, but we've largely turned our backs on, you know, the polytechnics and the creation of these skills and apprenticeships. And we've also stigmatized, you know, manual labor, and it should be cherished and promoted. And then, of course, the last thing that has made it very difficult is continued importation of cheap labor. Initially, it came from Ireland in the early 90s, as you might recall. Then it came from Poland, and now it's coming from further afield. And the continued importation of cheap labour will undermine wages in this country, and it won't be attractive for us to create our own homegrown... I mean, I think actually being a plumber is an incredibly profitable business now. But
you said almost everything I was going to say. I cannot believe I'm agreeing with so much of what is coming out of Ben Habib's mouth.
Common sense.
What everyone thinks what they say is common sense. Tony Blair was trying to get 50%, wasn't he, into universities? And I had some sympathy for that, because university brings all sorts of things as well as the education. It gives you a hinterland, it develops social skills, But you're right. I still think we have a mental block in this country about manual labour. I think we look up to people who do intellectual-type jobs, and we look down, not me, but we as a society, as a culture, look down or don't give sufficient respect to or celebration of people who do unbelievably skillful manual tasks, which, of course, by the way, also use the brain. We need those skills in our country. We need people to be trained up. But in order for that to work, we also have to be open as a culture and encouraging as a culture of people, our own people, as it were, British people, doing those sorts of jobs, because they're fantastic. Now, our kitchen is being ripped out at the moment ahead of the birth of our second child. It's very stressful. Christmas is coming up. We went to a high street store. The subcontractor is Lebanese. And his people who are working, they literally tiled the floor today, are Syrian. One of them speaks broken English, one of them doesn't speak a word of English. Fortunately, I speak a bit of Arabic. And these guys are unbelievably skilled and work unbelievably hard, and I'm incredibly grateful to them. But, of course, they will need roofs over their heads. And so we need more British people doing those jobs, in my view. That's my sense. I might be wrong. I'm not using figures to back it up. That's my sense.
Well, do you agree with Matt's sense or not? So many of you are getting in touch. I think that you want this plan to work. I think that there's a question mark about whether or not they'll be able to pull it off. John has said, Michelle, after World War II, we built loads of prefabs, basically. So he said, so why don't we do similar things like that again? He's also got an idea. He said, why don't we allow all non-academic youths to go into the world of work at 16, he says, and here's an interesting idea he's got, but you let them off paying any tax until they're 21. What do you think to John's idea? So get the 16-year-old non-academics into the world of work, tax-free, he reckons.
Well, I would remove tax it's a reform UK policy. I would remove tax from anyone who earns under $20,000 a year.
Or anyone who can't vote, by the way. No taxation without representation. So if you work when you're 16 but you can't vote till you're 18, don't tax the child.
Yeah, I guess. But, I mean, I think we just want to reduce... We want higher wages in this country. We want less taxation of the working class. We want people to be able to aspire to make money and keep that which they earn. And if we allow that aspirational culture to take off, I think we'll solve a lot of our own problems.
But we have to change, I think, and tell me if I'm wrong, Michelle, and your viewers will tell me if I'm wrong, we have to change cultural attitudes. Cultural attitudes that don't put a high enough premium on making things, doing things. I'm working with Made in Britain, which represents companies that make stuff here in this country. We know that manufacturing this country isn't anything like it was. Let's encourage people to do this stuff.
We've got a problem there, dear viewers, right? I was out and about last night, and I won't name names. I was out and about last night, and someone came over to me, this young girl, and she was saying that she would like a job at so-and-so place, whatever, and that she'd been told by this other individual that the only way she could even get a look in at so-and-so place was if she had this degree. And I was trying to explain to this young girl that I reject that notion. I don't have a degree. I think that there's ways and means around everything, and I think attitude, experience, etc. counts for a lot in these days. And fast forward, I then came to the person who told this young girl, you need a degree, and I said to him, why have you told this girl that she needs this degree? And his response to me was, well, I went to university and I've got a degree and I got myself saddled in loads and loads of debt, so why should other people be able to just go into that job without a degree?
And by the way, look at...
Well, I found that very telling.
Look at Lord Sugar or Richard Branson. I mean, extremely successful
Charlie Mullins,
people who did not... Charlie Mullins, don't agree with his views, but extremely successful businessmen, people who did not go to university.
But the point I'm making, and the person involved will be listening to this, I'm not being horrible, I'm just using it as an interesting example. You've got this whole suite of younger people that have been told you've got to go to university. They've gone to university, saddled themselves with a fortune worth of debt to do jobs that I would argue don't need a degree. I mean, you can't be a brain surgeon or whatever, obviously, without one, but I just think that we've overqualified, on paper anyway, so many jobs.
And pointlessly qualified. So many degrees don't lead to a vocation.
Have you got a degree?
I have got a degree, yeah.
Oh, have you got a degree?
Yeah, and I'm very grateful to my degree. I really enjoyed it. I'm very grateful for the fact I spent 3 years at university, and that's why I'd be reluctant, as it were, to be part of a movement that might deny people those opportunities. But
some people are best suited not to go to university and do other stuff.
And there's a great pride to be taken in apprenticeships and then moving your way up through those trades and maybe becoming a roofer with a turnover of 1 or 2 million quid.
Well, there you go. I did an apprenticeship and I completely endorse them. And if you've got kids, grandkids, or actually if you're an older person, you don't know what to do next, I fully support apprenticeships. I think they're an absolutely fabulous route into the workplace. What do you make to it all? Lots to discuss, ladies and gents, after the break. Should we have data on crimes connected to illegal migrants? And speaking of crimes, what do we do then about the state of the court system? Is it time to scrap some juries on some trials to try and speed things up? Your thoughts?
Hi there. The weather is turning increasingly gloomy across the UK with a lot of cloud, some mist, hill fog and drizzle. There will be a few clearer spots over the next 24 hours, mostly central and northern parts of mainland Scotland, but a number of cloud breaks are possible elsewhere, particularly western parts of the country. But otherwise, it's just an extensive sheet of low cloud that will cover the hills and bring misty conditions with, in places, some light rain and drizzle, especially for western Scotland and through some southern and eastern parts of England and Wales. Temperatures then holding up under that blanket of cloud, 5 or 6 Celsius by dawn in many places, although under some clearer spells across parts of Scotland, dipping to -3 to -6 degrees. Frost-free, generally speaking, across southern areas, although a few cloud breaks possible towards the southwest, and where that happens, temperatures will dip to 1 or 2 Celsius. Likewise for Northern Ireland, some brighter spells to begin the day, away from those areas where we're covered by a lot of low cloud, mist, hill fog and drizzle. The clearest spot there for northeast mainland Scotland, but otherwise Scotland certainly cloudier compared with recent mornings, and as a result, the frost more limited. although it is a gloomy start for most, and it doesn't cheer up much into the afternoon. In fact, there's little change. There's still outbreaks of light rain and drizzle through some southern and western parts, and some more persistent rain coming into the northwest of Scotland by the end of the day because of a weather front that will be approaching from the Atlantic. Generally 5 to 7 degrees in the afternoon. That weather front crosses the country on Saturday as a weakening feature, and then we're back to showers coming in from the northwest, interspersed by sunny spells, and it will be a bright day across some eastern parts whilst we keep cloudier skies in the west. And later in the weekend, increasingly wet for Scotland, drier elsewhere, but milder across the board.
The latest GB News travel.
Good evening, I'm Johnny Ratner. Long delays on the Essex stretch of the M25 do continue. The anti-clockwise carriageway of the motorway remains closed from junction 29 to 28 from the A127 round to the A12. Investigation works underway following an accident that happened around noon involving a couple of lorries. Long queues back through the Dartford tunnels into Kent and the other way back towards the M11 in Essex. And the M4 London bound right on the Wiltshire-Berkshire border. It's closed, the motorway from junction 15 to 14 heading away from Swindon towards Hungerford. A lorry left a spillage of hydraulic fluid all over the motorway in the early hours. In Suffolk, just east of Bury St Edmunds, the A14 closed westbound following an accident, and the M5 in Devon is queuing southbound junction 28 to 29 towards Exeter. A car's overturned blocking off the inside lane. It's happened in the roadworks, making matters worse, of course. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Hello there, I'm Michelle Dewberry. This is Dewbs & Co. Welcome aboard. If you're just joining us, alongside me, Ben Habib, the former Deputy Co-Leader of Reform UK, and Matthew Stadlen, the political commentator. At the start of the programme, I did point out to you all that today is Christmas Jumper Day. Have you got your Christmas sweaters on? I asked you that. I had my Christmas get-up on, ladies and gents. I believe I have a simple motto in life: go hard or go home. So if you're not able to see the screen and you're listening on the radio, I shall describe it. I'm wearing a knitted green, bright green, quite tight fitting, probably not the best choice at my age, Christmas tracksuit. I think I look fabulous. I've nominated myself for the prize of Best Dressed at GB News. I've got to say, everyone's ignored me. I've not been declared the winner, so I'm shamelessly plugging myself now. Lots of you guys at home have got in touch with me as well, showing me your pictures. Let me have a look at some of them off. Look at this. There we go. I can't read what that says. And it looks like you sat on Santa. We've got a lady here. Oh, she's got the dog on the front of her Christmas jumper. I like it. This one says, Merry Drunk, I'm Christmas. Oh, I like what you did there. I like that one. That's quite nice, isn't it? Any more? No? Should we move on and talk about other things?
I think you've cheated because you have gone the full hog, a whole hog, and you've gone for the trousers as well, which means you have to win.
Well, as much as men might like me to leave the trousers off, I'm obviously not going to do that, am I? Women do have to wear trousers, ladies and gents, and if you're going to have a Christmas jumper, you might as well go the whole hog. Belts and braces, if you will. So I did have a jumper. I do qualify, and if anyone from GB News Management is watching, I do want the prize. Thank you very much. Now, let's move on, shall we? Reform UK. They've been quite vocal, lobbying, Rupert Lowe, the MP in particular, lobbying for quite some weeks now. They want more data transparency when it comes to things like illegal immigration. In particular, he's been campaigning for data related to crimes that's linked to illegal migrants. Well, now he's got his answer. The Home Office has said no. They're saying that they will not honour this request to publish this data. They say that the public doesn't want this data simply to answer questions in Parliament. Goodness me. I think they might be a little bit out of touch on that one. So Rupert has asked all the people to write to their local MP demanding this information. Ben Habib, where are you?
I think Rupert is a superb warrior for common sense in the Commons. And I think he's absolutely right to be asking for that data. I think he should be going further and asking for data across different ethnic groups in different parts of the country and how it's working out in the criminal justice system, to shine a light on where it is that crimes are taking place and, you know, who's committing them. Not to weaponise ethnicities or differences between ethnicities, but to have an open and clear debate about it. The only thing I'd say about this request for information on crimes committed by illegal migrants is that, frankly, as far as I'm concerned, even one crime committed by an illegal migrant is an intolerably high level of criminality, because they shouldn't be here in the first place. In a sense, they've already broken, not in a sense, they have broken the law already to be in this country. And there should be a policy of detain and deport everyone that is in this country illegally. And actually, as I say, any number of crimes committed by them is any number of crimes too many.
If you're listening on the radio, you will have missed the shocker that was Matt Stadland's face just then. What's the matter?
Have we got a dispute?
He has his head in his hands and everything. What's the matter?
I just find it so offensive, so anger-inducing, this stuff from Rupert Lowe setting himself up as some sort of hero of the people, this multi-millionaire, radically educated member of the establishment, claiming to be anti-establishment and on the side of the people against crimes committed by illegal immigrants. As Ben has said, illegal immigrants, by definition, shouldn't be here in the first place. So you'll have people on the left and on the right united. By definition, they shouldn't be here. Why do we need to know how many crimes people who shouldn't be here are committing? They shouldn't be here. And so...
Yeah, but they are.
Yeah, they are.
That's nice in your fancy world.
No,
they shouldn't be, but
they are. Here.
So we should understand what they're doing whilst they're here.
Because what we need to understand is how to solve crimes and how to punish people for crimes, and we seem to be failing to do that. So just to throw extra mud at people, the vast majority of whom are not committing crimes, and the vast majority of whom, the vast majority of whom are, whether they're here illegally or not, are vulnerable.
Yes,
to try and stigmatise them by linking them to crime is an old trick from a dirty old handbook. He knows what he's doing. He's being divisive and he's spreading hate.
Matthew Stadland, they won't be in the data if they have not committed crime, will they?
To break down crime?
That point. If you haven't committed crime, you're not going to be in the statistics.
No, but what's he trying to do?
But do you concede that?
No, what he's trying to do... I don't concede it, because what he's trying to do is to stigmatise people who are here illegally when they are already stigmatised, because they shouldn't be here. But he's trying to spread division and hate. We don't need to know how many crimes are committed by illegal migrants, because they shouldn't be here in the first place.
But I think what Rupert is trying to do is to get the statistics out there so that the public debate can shift more strongly in favour of detain and deport, so that people understand that there's an assault going on our society.
The government's already trying to do that.
Yeah, but the government isn't.
The Labour government does. You see what Yvette Cooper has been doing with deportations. Don't mess with Yvette Cooper. She is no friend of illegal immigrants, believe me. She is very, very hard. And the hope is that this Labour government will be more effective and more efficient than the last hopeless government, which was the Conservative government, in stopping illegal migration. But be it under no illusion, Reform have absolutely no hope, if in the fantasy world of them ever getting into government, of sorting this out, because they want to do things like send people back to France. They're not allowed to do that, because guess what? The French won't allow them to do it. It's fantasy nonsense. Illegal immigrants shouldn't be here. We're trying to stop them as a country. Trying to stigmatise them by coming up with crime numbers for them is just spreading hate.
Well, they should be stigmatised because they've come to the country illegally.
Well, they already are to that extent.
But I don't think Yvette Cooper is the paragon of enforcing our borders in the way that you see it. I mean, first of all, I just want to bank your agreement to illegal migrants being required to be deported. I think that's a fantastic
Where they can be, under the law, not breaking international law, of course not. And by the way, I'm distinguishing between illegal migrants and asylum seekers.
What we are not doing as a country, what the entire Western world seems to have forgotten about, is border enforcement. Borders are not just theoretical lines on a map.
No, we should enforce them, yes.
We should absolutely enforce our borders.
But they're not easy to enforce.
They're not easy.
People get on the backs of lorries or they jump on these dinghies with these evil people.
But we are actually
difficult to
we
stop.
are, in fact, encouraging the trade. Yvette Cooper, successive governments, they're encouraging the trade. And they're encouraging it...
That's really not true, Ben.
They're encouraging it, for example, by spending £50,000 a year in the United Kingdom per head per illegal migrant versus France at £5,000 per head per illegal migrant. They're encouraging it by creating the impression, quite correctly, that Border Force is nothing more than a taxi service. If you can make it to the territorial edge of British waters...
OK, this is where we disagree, as you know, extremely strongly.
I know,
because
but
we have two responsibilities,
Hang on,
Ben.
talk over each
OK, we have two responsibilities. One is to save people at sea, and I'm sure, on reflection, you would agree with me on that. And the second is, once people are here, not to treat them inhumanely, but to treat them properly as human beings. And what they need to do is speed up the system. They need to speed up the system and make sure that people who are capable of being deported should be deported, but treat them as human beings while they're here, because they're just as human as you and I.
There has to be a deterrent at the point that they seek to enter our territorial waters.
Well, we could torture them.
Hang on, let him speak.
And the Belgians have proven that you can do this. They have a dedicated force which turns around boats as they leave Belgian shores. They intercept them, they use drones, they use sensors, barricades, fast-moving boats, and people don't end up getting hurt. They go back to shore. Remember, these people are not suicidal. These people are seeking a better life for themselves. They're already safe in France, so by definition, they're illegal economic migrants. And what we've got to do is show them that they will be stopped and turned round. If they can make the 12.5-mile journey to the point of our territorial waters, they can turn round and make the journey back.
You're ignoring what I've said. Of course, I would love it if we could return these people to France if they're here illegally. The problem is, Ben, that the French won't allow it, and we can't get involved in forcing them to turn round if, in so doing, we are endangering their lives, because we will be breaking the law of the sea, the government will be complicit. Hang on, the government will be complicit in murder. All I'm saying is I don't want illegal immigrants here any more than you do, but we have to act within the law, and we should act humanely.
Right, final word, Ben.
The law of the sea, the international law of the sea, is that you're obliged to rescue people if they're in danger and if it's reasonable to do so. And I emphasise those last few words. It is not reasonable to expect that because you've tipped up on the edge of British international waters in a dinghy, put yourself in this precarious position, that you should therefore be rescued. It's not reasonable. And Article 33 of the same UNCLOS law it enables countries, empowers countries to enforce their borders in the sea, to require people who are seeking to enter their territorial waters illegally to turn around and go away.
One sentence is entirely reasonable to save people in your territorial waters.
Right, there you go. What do you make to it all at home? Your thoughts, I've got to say, I think it's basic common sense to make that data available, but unfortunately common sense doesn't really seem all that prevalent sometimes, does it? Look, after the break, I want to talk to you about jury trials. Do you think we should scrap a portion of them in order to speed up the court backlog system? Yes or no? See you in 2.
Britain's newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
Maria, potholes are the bane of everybody that uses a road, whether you're a car driver or a cyclist. As a cyclist, are even worse. How have we got into this situation where our roads are in such a bad state?
Well, part of it is to do with actually our climate. In somewhere like, say, Sweden, like the snow will fall on the ground, it will stay there for months. Whereas here we've got what's called a freeze-thaw climate, where the water comes down, then we might have a cold snap and it freezes, and the water within the pothole will then expand and make the pothole bigger. Then we might have a mild spell, and then that process repeats. So, we do actually need extra funding to acknowledge the fact that, we just live in a climate where we're sort of particularly vulnerable to potholes.
Why? I mean, the fact that this happens, these weather conditions happen, is no great surprise to anybody. Why has the problem been ignored for so long?
I think what's happened is we've had, short-term funding. So it's like, oh, there's a pothole, let's patch it up. Oh, there's another one, let's patch it up. But the patches aren't actually really that strong, so then they break down again. So, really what we need is to have roads completely resurfaced. and then they'll just be pothole-free for a very long time. And that really is how funding should be. That's the direction funding should go in, as opposed to just sort of like dribs and drabs here and there.
Do you think this government are going to be good for the motorist, or is there indeed a war on the motorist still?
The different parties come in and they've all got different policies that they wheel out, then they cancel the policies, and then there's so much lack of transparency. Like, for example, with the pothole issue, sometimes the government, whichever government is in office, will do some big showboating about how they're going to give X amount of potholes, and you still think that sounds really good.
GB News, the People's Channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Emily Carver. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, I'm Michelle Dewberry with you till 7 o'clock. Ben Habib and Matt Stadland remain alongside me. Ben, you got a text whilst I was on air saying, can you tell Michelle that my son is a plumber? And at the age of 21, he had his own business. He had the choice of going to university, but chose to be a plumber instead. He had to work hard, passed exams at college. He has to do lots of different top-ups, pay for his gas safety, etc. But he is doing really, really well. Says this viewer in a challenging profession, which many people take for granted. If you're wondering what I'm talking about, we're talking about the top of the show. We're talking about house building and how we're going to develop our skills. And no, Matthew Stadland, you can't come in because I am going to move on. So zip it.
I was just going to say good for him.
Yeah, good for him.
All right, yeah, you're allowed to come in short and
Yeah.
say nice. Yeah, we like whoever that viewer is. It's one of Ben's friends, child.
Danuta's son.
Danuta's son. Well, there you go. Well done, Danuta's son. Let's talk the court backlogs then, shall we? We know that our courts are in a bit of a pickle. So what we're going to do then, how we're going to fix these backlogs. One proposal is that jury trials could be scrapped. This is apparently a once-in-a-generation reform. Where have I heard that sentence about once-in-a-generation before, eh? Anyway, what do you think to this? Let's cut to the chase. Do you think this is a good idea?
No, it's not a good idea. It's not a good idea at all. Jury trials are really important. And I've served on a jury, and I can tell you that when you get a cross-section of people looking at a particular case, they are much, much more likely to come to the right answer than an individual sitting in a bench. And I was watching the footage of that judge who convicted the, I can't remember his name now, the guy who was seeking to set fire to a migrant hotel.
Oh, the one that's been sentenced.
Yeah, in Rotherham. I heard the judge talk about this man's racism, and I was thinking to myself, his racism is not the relevant issue right now. And I could see this judge, magistrate, whatever he was clearly hijacked by the whole kind of racist, anti-immigrant debate thing. And if you have a jury looking at it, collectively, they're much more likely to come to a dispassionate, clear-minded, sensible solution. And this is yet another step towards the hollowing out of our criminal justice system. As it is, only 2% of serious crimes result in a conviction. Get that in your head. Only 2% of serious crime result in a conviction. And if you remove juries, which I think are much, much more robust at getting to the right answer, you're dumbing down our criminal justice system again.
I think you are dumbing down the criminal justice system, if that's the right phrase, or certainly you're undermining a cornerstone, a fundamental principle of British justice, which is the
trial
right
by jury.
Yeah, the right to be judged by your peers, by 12 men and women of your country, and to lose that, I think, would be disastrous. Now, the government, I was listening to the courts minister on the way in on the radio, and the government is saying for the most serious cases, of course, we're not going to lose jury trials. You talked about this 2% figure. I mean, the strain under which our criminal justice system is mind-blowing. I talked to a couple of local bobbies on the beat today. Good to see them out and about. Actually, they were in a car, so maybe they weren't bobbies on the beat. But they were getting a coffee, and I was telling them that crime seemed to me to be rampant, and what were they doing about it? They said at any one time they can have as few as 10 police officers focused on burglary in our local area of 2.5 million people. 10 police, and they were saying they get about 120 burglaries a week.
We are losing the battle.
We are losing battles across our public services. And my view is that you need to have more resources. That's not a popular view because people feel that taxes are very high. People will say, oh, well, redeploy them from worrying about Facebook posts. I suspect there aren't that many officers actually preoccupied by Facebook posts.
There are a lot. There's 13,000 hours a year devoted to that.
But people will also say that this is about efficiency. It's not really about funds. They've got all the... No, the sad reality is, and it's an unpleasant reality, because I don't particularly want to pay more tax, the sad reality is that our systems are crumbling partly because they are underfunded. And our courts are underfunded, and the government is desperate to say it's not really about money, because they know that they don't want to go back to us to get more money. So they're saying this is about reform, and I'm very sceptical about that.
Well, I'll tell you, you're on about realities and reform and stuff. I do want to bring this in, because someone caught my eye from you, actually. Because one of the things that I think is quite interesting when it comes to crime and all the rest of it, perceptions of crime in people's lives, for a very long time, people have been saying that crime feels like it's getting out of control, that things feel like it's more violent. But, well, yeah, I think it is. But you, Matthew Stadlen, about a year ago, actually, you went on Twitter and you said, most of the nasty, racist, miserable, misanthropic little Englanders on here clearly don't get out much. Go about your business in London and people are friendly and they rub along together well. Don't believe what the angry, hate-fueled, fearful snowflakes shout into the wind. So that's how it started, Matt Stadlen, a year ago. Fast forward a year, you then tweeted recently, a couple of days ago, crime in London seems out of control. I've lived here all my life and I've never known it like this. The Prime Minister and Mayor of London need to get a handle on it. Shoplifting, dangerous driving, drugs, phone theft. Sort it out. So all those people that you accuse of being racist little Englanders, they were telling their experience that you were almost diminishing.
No. I'll be completely... I'll spell it out. As I saw these two tweets, as is often the case, put up side by side. People love to hate me on Twitter, and that's fine by me.
I don't hate you.
They're not you, but some people do,
ridiculous.
and I've got a thick skin. No, there are a lot of racists out and about who don't like the fact that London is much less white and much less English than it used to be. And so they use crime, statistics or feelings about crime in order to bash minorities, bash Sadiq Khan and bash our great capital city. So I stand by... Let me finish. Yeah. I stand by that tweet. Now, when I feel the facts start to change, in my experience of London as a Londoner, I will change my view. And I do feel that crime is getting out of control in London. I think the police feel that. The difference is I'm not linking it to immigration. I want criminals to be caught and prosecuted and put in prison regardless of where they come from.
Yeah, but I do just want to make the point that actually, when people describe their experiences, there are too many people in society that are too quick to label people racist.
So I just call racist racist, Michelle.
No,
all I call racists
tweet,
are
Matthew
racist.
Stadlen,
yeah, because a lot
tweet,
of the people who are bashing London are racist.
A lot of the people that are bashing London, because in their experience of having gone to London, so many parts of it are an absolute dump. There's words that I would use outside of the studio that are not appropriate for
Are you linking that to immigration?
Are
you linking that to immigration?
But I think there's a valid...
I couldn't care less who's doing it. If the
it's not a dump, London. It's not a dump. It's still a great city. It's got too much crime.
Parts of London are an absolute dump, and you walk through them, you drive through them, and you look at your absolute state of this, and then you look at the house prices in those areas. Who said it was?
Racist, not you. Racist, not you. But a lot of racists out there are hammering London because they're racist.
But
and
Matt,
this is a straight-talking channel, a free speech channel, and I will call a racist until I'm blue, green and purple
and
in the face.
And you're entitled to do so. But what I'm telling you is don't keep calling people that are not racist.
I don't only call racist racist.
But would 10 seconds,
would you denounce an analysis of crime by ethnic origin? Would you denounce it? Would you see that as racist? Or would you think that that is a necessary component of identifying who the
Well,
likely
I think we
criminals
do have an
are.
understanding, don't we?
But we don't.
We do have a degree of understanding about crimes and ethnicity, but it's only useful if it helps prevent crime.
And I think it needs to be done. And it needs to be done. Knife crime, London, all serious crime up 70% in the last 10 years.
Well, we
70%.
can pontificate about what needs to be done and what doesn't need to be done, but when it comes to the data, if you've just tuned in, you missed us discussing it. Reform UK want more data transparency when it comes to ethnicity and migration status, etc. It's not going to happen. You can ponder whether or not that's the right decision or not, because that's all we have got time for. Thanks, gents. Thanks to you at home. Have a good night. I'll see you tomorrow nights.
We'll see a cold snap, which will quickly develop into a warm front. Boxed Boiler Repairs, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi there. The weather is turning increasingly gloomy across the UK with a lot of cloud, some mist, hill fog and drizzle. There will be a few clearer spots over the next 24 hours, mostly central and northern parts of mainland Scotland, but a number of cloud breaks are possible elsewhere, particularly western parts of the country. But otherwise, it's just an extensive sheet of low cloud that will cover the hills and bring misty conditions with, in places, some light rain and drizzle, especially for western Scotland and through some southern and eastern parts of England and Wales. Temperatures then holding up under that blanket of cloud, 5 or 6 Celsius by dawn.